another episode of Moving Matters, where we talk all things that move the world. And I am your host, Miss Q. Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about being young, gifted, black, and abroad. Yes, we have the entertainers extraordinaire from the Festival of the Lion King in Hong Kong, Disneyland. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about these two extraordinary young people. They are both a part of the Festival of the Lion King in Disney Hong Kong. Well, it goes without saying that they are young, gifted, black, and abroad. They both started young. They both have extraordinary careers. They both have stood out among their peers. Miss Laura plays the part of Rafiki, the storyteller in The Lion King. And as you can see, she is an extraordinary young woman with a beautiful voice. She started in the church, reluctantly, but look at where her gift has taken her. Mr. Dante is a awesome awesome, and I do mean awesome, singer, songwriter, actor, and dancer. He, as we said, started very young and has traveled the world and began his extensive travel at the age of 9 years old. He has been in several countries, singing, dancing, and bringing others to a place of joy and happiness. Let's just listen for a moment. See, I told you. Young, gifted, black, and abroad. So, without further ado, let's go see these two in the dialogue and talk with them at the dialogue desk. Let's go. Well, here we are at the dialogue desk, getting ready to talk to those two extraordinary people that I was telling you about. And here they are, Miss Laura and Mr. Dante. Welcome to Moving Matters. Well, I already told them a little bit about you, and I know that they are waiting to hear from you. So without further ado, here we go. Are y'all ready?
Here we are again on yet another episode of Moving Matters, where you already know we move and talk about everything that moves the world, that's moving in the world, and that's making great moves. And we have two young people that I am personally proud of with us today. Y'all know for the month of May, we are on the move. We will be on locations, and then we will be doing things that look like we're in other countries. But right now, we're just online and we're on the internet, right? Okay, so with that said, these two young people, they doing the thing, y'all. And I mean, they are making it move in great ways. So let me bring them right on in. None other than Miss Laura and Mr. Dante. Welcome to Moving Matters.
No.
This is live TV. You can talk. You can actually,
We know we're just letting you.
So, without further ado, I want to talk to the two of you about being young, gifted, black, and abroad. And I know all of those separate from itself is a challenge. But when you all are in another country and it's got to be all rolled up together, I know that that's a little bit different. So, either one of you, let's start ladies first. So, Miss Laura, you are from Birmingham, correct?
Yes.
All right. And so you have a different cultural difference, and here you are in Hong Kong. Us about being a young Black woman, talented, gifted, and a very prominent and renowned show. Talk to us.
I absolutely love it. I embrace everything that comes with it. I don't try and stand out, if you know what I mean. I blend and I fit into my surroundings. So yeah, I'm absolutely enjoying my time here in Hong Kong. I find it very similar to the UK, so I do feel very very much at home. The only difference is obviously there's not many of us, but when you do see someone, you're like, yes. I'm absolutely enjoying it out here, and I'm just really blessed and lucky to be in this position that I'm in right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we're glad you're there. So Dante, I know, you've been to several different countries and you've been, traveling on the seas and now, you're in Hong Kong. Talk to us about some of the differences that you're experiencing and have experienced having such a journey thus far.
Well, I would say this is the first time. Not I would say this is the first time I've lived abroad. The boat was different because when you're on a boat, you have 65 different nationalities that are all coming together to create this new sort of culture, and that was a culture of whatever that boat was. It would change and morph depending on where you were in the world. But now to come and be completely immersed in a singular culture is probably the most jarring experience because I visited here many years ago and it felt nice and it felt cool because it was new and it was different and kind of the same. But then you come in
Mm-hmm.
and you live here and it is more of a shock than you realize because while it is very similar to the English culture that was once the colonizers of this particular part of the world, the influence is still quite heavily Chinese. So it's learning to adapt to the traditional Chinese mindset and assimilate into that, as well as the new adopted emulation of the English culture. And then
Mm-hmm.
where do I fit into that as a Black guy in a country that does not exactly celebrate African American or any sort of African descent for that matter? So unlike everywhere else in the world, there is no like pride in our color besides what we emanate. There's no one that's celebrating us for us. Besides, like, you'll see somebody with cornrows or you'll see somebody with dreadlocks, and you're like, that's nice. Yeah. So it's more an emulation of the cultures that we see rather than anything else.
Okay. So having said that, and either one of you can jump in or tag team off of each other with this. That I know the dating world because Laura, you said that it's small numbers. Do you
Yes.
find that dating is difficult? And why are you guys laughing at me?
I have stories for days about dating out here in Hong Kong. It is difficult. It is so difficult. Obviously, I have a preference, and there's not that many. And then the ones that I do find, I feel like it's just a copy and paste. They're all exactly the same.
Oh wow.
I'm like, is there no diversity? Is nobody different? But yes, it's been very difficult. And then being an expat, I don't know how long I'm going to
Hmm.
be here, so I want to settle down, so to speak. And then in 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, by the way, I've got to go now. So it has been quite difficult, very
Mm.
difficult. But I have many stories to tell.
You said that word several times. Difficult. Very difficult. And Dante, what about you?
I'd say, I would say the bare bones fact of it is, for other Black people that we find, they're looking for an experience outside of their culture. Because a lot of times people
Mm.
aren't in Hong Kong for very long, maybe for a couple of years at most, and then they go back to their respective countries. So no one comes here with the mindset of being like, I want to find my forever partner. That's very
Hmm.
rare of the expat community. The locals,
Hmm.
if they like you, they expect you to get married within the next week. So
Wait, say
it's
that
it's
again. They expect what?
to be married within a very short amount of time. I mean, like a year at
Wow.
most. That's the culture here.
Mm.
But I was gonna say the hard part of that is when you run into whether they're more Western or they are from Hong Kong or they're from Hong Kong, lived abroad, and came back to Hong Kong. When it comes to being a dark-skinned person, we are usually put into a box or category or fetishized. So it's
Mm.
very hard because either they see me like, oh, you must be from Africa, and I'm like, I'm actually from Chicago. I'm not sure how you did not hear the difference in our voices, which Laura can talk more about because everyone they can't tell where we're from. They don't recognize the
Really?
accents, so they always think that we're from the same place. And I'm like, how did you
Oh, is
ever?
that one of those all black people alike kind of thing? So we must
It's
all
one of those
be
all
from the
black.
same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially yes.
Mm. So how does that play with you all? You know, because everybody, especially now because of the pandemic, and we're going to get into that a little bit and talk about how you all deal with it because you're the epicenter or you're near the epicenter of where, it broke out. However, you're from two different countries dealing with it as their culture is, as their government is, as your corporation, requires you guys to do and everything. But I'm gonna get into that a little bit more later. But when you're in another country, we talked about the dating thing. How does that play in your mind without, does it create this loneliness, or do you all have like a friend circle that you all kind of keep each other, balanced? And how do you all handle that? Because it's difficult anyway, but when you're in another country and you can't just get on a plane and come home, how are you all processing that part? Especially because you got a job to do, so you got to be on the job while you're dealing with everything else, plus life period, and being young and all of that. Talk to us about that.
There's a lot of things there. To be fair, I got to Dante about everything. We talk about every single thing. He knows about all my bad dating experiences and everything that's going on. So in that sense, I think we're lucky that we have each other to be able to
Good.
spark confidence, to be able to talk to. Um, but it is difficult. There are times when you wish you could just jump on the plane and go home just to refresh and just to center yourself and then come back and do the job. But literally everyone is in the same boat. We're all here. We're all stuck here. And we've just got each other really at the end of the day. But then you've got to take that time for yourself as well. As much as I love everybody here and we do spend a lot of time together, you then need to take your own time to just be still and to gather your own thoughts, and then just come back and just do what you're actually here to do, which is perform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dante, how do you find the balance between what do you do to keep yourself centered and sane? I guess I can say.
Well, it obviously has to change depending on where you are. So when I'm at home in the States, where I'm actually like at the house, or when I was living in Florida, I find working with my hands to be the most zenning experience to just reground me in a way, because it's analytical, it's facts, it's logical. So angles, numbers, screws, hammers, everything just makes more sense. Because I'm like, all right, I know exactly what I'm doing, but yet it's still artistic. So it is the way that I center myself when I'm at home. But when you're in a place like this, where space is a commodity, I can't just go and grab tools and do this in my hotel room. That's not going to happen. And then once I build some, where the heck am I going to put it? So it's very trying because it is things have to change. So
Hmm.
I would say that finding those things has become the new discovery of how I can center myself. Is searching for
Mm.
those things. So Hong Kong has lots of different types of things. The hiking here is superb. However, I hate hiking. I hate being sweaty. I hate getting to the top of a mountain. I'm out of breath and there's no oxygen. I don't like that feeling. It's not fun.
Wow.
But one thing I have noticed here is the food culture is insanely cool. So while I'm not the biggest fan of Cantonese food or Chinese food or really any Asian food besides Japanese food as in general, there's lots of other options here. And
Mhm.
for the past year,
Yeah.
Laura and I have just been like sort of knocking restaurants off of our lists and just sort of like making that like a destination thing. It's like, all right, well, Tuesday we'll go and we'll try this new restaurant. It's probably going to be crap, but hey, who cares? We'll do it together, and if it's bad, we'll just find another place. And that's that. And then separately, I would say music, recording music. Now I'm listening to different producers' ideas of how they do their music to then inform me of like now like give me direction on a technical side. And then of course video games and movies. They're always a good going.
Okay, okay. So you're both singers. You're both a part of the same cast, and so even though you're on land, do you find that that's still a small community? And what's the interaction like? Uh, what's the motivating thing for each of you that gets you in that frame of mind to perform and to do your job in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of the many cultures, in the midst of being in another country, in the midst of knowing that, there are all of these different, no pun intended, I know you guys are at Disney. How do you find this? Tell me if you're actually doing this though. Are you separating what you do from who you are in the midst of all of those things that I just said? Or is it just that you put that actor's face on, you do it, and then when you come out of it, it's like, woof. Tell me about that. What's your experience has been like? Because you've been there a year now. So what's been that for you?
Uh, um, I would say the separation is hard because in everything you do on a stage, you bring yourself into it, correct? But the hardest part is like we aren't accountants, we aren't architects. Who we are is what we do. So that
Hmm.
separation is very difficult, and I don't want to separate those two things, but it does make the balance even harder because I don't want people to see me as Dante, who's Simba. I don't want people to say Simba's played by Dante. I want to see Dante as Dante, who sometimes plays Simba.
Hmm.
And that's hard because we are here for one reason, and that's to play our characters, and we aren't allowed to do anything else besides that. That would at least bring us monetary gain. So
So what do you
as
mean you're
far as
not allowed to do anything else? What does that mean you're not
within
allowed to do anything else?
our contract says that we can't do any outside work or gigs in Hong Kong.
Okay.
So, I mean, I feel like a loophole would be once the borders open, you could go to Macau and do a gig or two. But even still, like, I feel like that could be a little more dicey. So, as far as separating who you are from what you do, well, for the greater part of this year, we haven't been working. So, there hasn't really been a need to. It's more of like are you guys working right now? Like, that's more of the conversation rather than like, it's so cool that you do that. So, um,
Hmm.
that's how I feel about it.
Mm.
And what about you, Laura?
Yeah, I think a while ago I put in a post that I'm grateful that during this pandemic I've actually been able to work because when I was at home, well, all around the world, like theatres are closed, everything's been shut down. So the fact that we were given this opportunity to be able to come here to actually do what we are gifted and called to do without sounding too churchy, um, I'm I'm just taking everything in and I'm just like, you know what, I'm so lucky, I'm so blessed, I'm so grateful that I'm able to do what I really enjoy. And you said it, I do that as well. Like I put on my actor's hat when I'm on stage, obviously, a performing hat, and then when I come off, I'm just me, I'm just Laura. But then, as
Hmm.
Dante was saying, like we are singers, we are actors. Like, that's who we are. That's what we do. So when you go out and people say, "Oh, what do you do?" Oh, yeah, I work at Disney. Sometimes I say it sheepishly, and other times I'm like, "Yes, I work at Disney." Oh, now I'm proud of what I do. But yeah, that's who I am, and that's what I do. So sometimes it is hard to separate, but I don't know. I
Hmm.
guess I just love it. So I'm proud of the fact that I'm a singer actress, and I'll tell people that's me.
Okay, well, very good. So that means even though it might be a stressful thing under the circumstances of the pandemic, it's also your release when you're on the stage and you're performing and you're making, which Disney does. It makes everybody happy. It makes everybody kind of forget about, what's outside the doors and the walls, you know what I mean, that's going on in, the country and around the world. Do you both find that even your audience is almost in a place like, please help us escape reality. Please help
Yeah,
us to, come to this place they can come and breathe and just forget about it all.
yeah, yes. People write comments and they praise us highly about the show, because for them it is that the moment they come into that theatre, the doors close and we perform on stage for those 30 minutes, that's just a moment of relief. They're like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
finally something different. I don't have to worry about COVID. I don't have to worry about work. I don't have to worry about this. Just in this moment, I'm actually entertained, and I could just forget everything that's going on around me, and I can just let go and enjoy myself. And I feel the same
Hmm.
as well when I'm performing. I'm like, whew, this is amazing. So yeah.
Now, you both have been performing for a long time. Laura, you said since you were 8. Dante, I already know since you were really like 5 and officially, what, 6 or 7 years old, we, had to, take you around and do things and stuff. Does it get, does it get old? What do you do to stay fresh for yourself in your craft? What do you both do?
Um, I would say for me, it's where it derives, and that has changed over the years. So once upon a time when I was much younger and with Soul Children, it was more about the adventure, the getting on the bus and hanging out with my friends and going to these niche little corporate events in some nowhere city in Iowa for no apparent reason for the night, and then you come back the next day and you're like, well, I did that. Now I got to go to school, and no one will ever know what was so cool about it. You know what I mean? And that was what was amazing then. And then the travel aspect got more serious on the boat. So like the singing part was like 25% of it, and 75% of it was the fact that I was waking up in Gibraltar one morning. The next day I was in Mykonos. Like it was mind blowing for me. So that was the cool thing. And then when I got to Disney, it all changed. It was always something bigger than myself that I never really got that repeated firsthand feedback. Because when I was at Kings Island, that was a bit. But then Disney's a different scale because people come to Disney for different reasons. So
Hmm.
one particular experience I had when I was doing Disney Junior was there was a little girl who was battling brain cancer. And the
Hmm.
year before that, she came and met Doc McStuffins, one of the Disney Channel characters. And obviously, there's not much conversation that can happen between a character and a child. But their interaction really boosted her up in a way that, like, healed her brain. For herself, it healed her brain. It gave her the gumption to
Hmm.
go on. So now, this following year, she came back and watched the show. And we did a special meet and greet with her. And the mother was explaining a story that basically they weren't sure how long she had.
Oh,
They
wow.
they kind of gave up a little bit. The doctors had given up, and then her trip to Disney, and between that and the constant like rebuilding of like reassurance to the family, and this one interaction with this one character saved this little girl's
Wow.
life. And then seeing her at
Wow.
the show, the girl's crying, mom's crying, I'm crying, Chris crying, everybody's crying, and we're
Hmm.
we're trying to hold together, but that professionalism kind of goes out the door because you're still human. This person is a human being. So
Yeah.
um, now for me, if I do the same show 20,000 times over and over again for the next 5 years, if one person's life was affected at the end of that 5 years, then it was all worth it. Like it's
Mm.
these little interactions, not the grand scale. I could sing to 17 million people in a single broadcast. That's cool, but I care more about that person who was not doing that great, saw the performance and said, you know what,
Okay.
maybe I should give it a second try. Maybe I shouldn't just give up so easily. For that few moments, I can give somebody something tangible. I'm not a
Wow.
doctor, but I can give them the medicine that they didn't know they needed, because that's what I get from artists as well, watching her perform and working so closely with other talented people who kind of have the same like
Mm.
derivative mindset. Like, this is more than just myself. This is about us, and it's about us. It's
Yeah.
about us. It's about us and the world. It's about all of us. So yeah, it's definitely changed for me. So that was long.
That's a great perspective to have. Laura, have you had an experience in performing and in your craft that is a memory for you, for someone that, I mean, you do what you do because you love what you do, but what experience, or can you tell us about one where it's like it did something for you or did something as a memory to you that you'll never forget?
I can't think of anything specific, but you can see the audience in our theatre and you can see the joy and excitement on their faces. Sometimes the adults are more
Mhm.
excited than the children. But either way, the fact that they are there to enjoy themselves, some of them, they're super fans, they know the choreographies, you see them dancing along, you see like the
Wait,
kids
you
all in
said
the background.
super fans? What's a super fan?
They absolutely love The Lion King. And
They're there.
yes, they're there. You will probably see the same person at all four shows, sitting in the same seat.
Wow.
Yes.
So they are season ticket holders, or they just they come every day? You said all four shows. You guys do 4 shows a day?
It's
There
sometimes yes,
there
yeah.
are 4 shows a day. We don't always do all 4. We
Okay.
usually just do
Okay.
2.
Okay. I
Yes.
got you. Grateful for that. We are grateful for the two of you. Thank you for making this move with me today. And so, to our audience, you all already know what to do. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you are on Facebook, it's Moving Matters Nation. You can go to the page or the group. And if you're on Instagram, it's Moving Matters. We all things moving. MOVIN matters. All right. And also our webpage. Send us your comments and let us know what your thoughts are, even from today's show, or thoughts you may have about subjects or topics that you want to hear on the show. Moving Matters. Thank you both again. This has been incredible. Yes. Love you, love you, love you so much. God bless you
Bye.
all. Stay great.
Bye.